Hey, my name is PolishLynx. Welcome to the irae, Amantes. Episode number 30. That's a lot already. And there were a few that were over an hour long. Well then, the door opened with a repulsive creak, revealing a certain girl.
Rusalka.
Hello. How are you? Irrationality, once our senior in school, and now a tiny ticking bomb whose position in all this I still couldn't quite discern. Depending on her answers, I might end up having to fight her as well. My thoughts gave way of sheer anxiety as I saw her, prompting me to let my guard down.
No.
And Sakurai. Of course, I would have been lying if I said my thoughts didn't freeze when I saw her emerge from the classroom after Himura. If she had attacked me right then, I would have been dead in an instant.
よう姉ちゃん、俺に何の断りもなく帰るなんてひどいじゃんよ。
Sure took a step forward with a smile as if trying to cover me while I was still dumbfounded. His voice betrayed no hint of surprise or anxiety. He likely expected there to be someone watching over Himura.
俺はレンよりだいぶ薄情だからな。餌は食っても釣られねえぞ。で、お二人さんはここで何をしてるわけ？
ユサくんこそ何してるの？
俺はあんた見りゃわかるっしょ。修羅場にしゃしゃってくんのはいつものことじゃん。それで
Sure glanced at Sakura again. It was at that point that I finally regained my composure.
悪いなシロ、もう大丈夫だ。
I took a step forward, telling sure to step back instead. With Sakura around, it was a bad idea to let him stand in the front unprotected.
先輩はまあ後で話そう。とりあえず無事そうで安心しました。
藤井くんも。
ええ。それで桜井。
The emotions I'd been suppressing up until now erupted all at once, filling my eyes with rage. Not even my consideration for humor could stop me from staring daggers at Sakurai. To tell the truth, my blood had been boiling since last night. I was frustrated with my own naivety, my own stupidity, as well as the woman who dared kidnap Katsumi from right under my nose.
あいつはどこだ桜井。答えないと。
Kill you right here and now. I might have grown to know her better during these past few days, but my anger at the moment was far outweighed any sympathy I might have built for her. Same. I ignored Himura's bemused stare. Shiro must have said something as well, but I paid no attention to it. My gaze remained fixated on Sakurai and her alone. Depending on her answer, I could have very well attacked her right here, there and down, and then. As such.
綾瀬さんなら知らない。
That anticlimactic answer of hers felt like a rush of cold water over me.
知らないだと。
ええ、聞かれても答えられない。
You sure? She didn't appear to be lying, which also meant that my worst fears had come to pass.
じゃあ今は他のやつのところかよ。
Honestly, if Kasumi were to be kidnapped by any of them, I wished it would have been Sakurai. At least she wasn't that dangerous as Wilhelm or Rusalka.
どうするよレン。お前はこいつを締め上げたいんだろうけど、そういう状況でもそれで肩がつくわけでもなさそうな感じだぞ。
わかってる。
She was pissing me off to no end, but our main objective here wasn't to teach her a lesson, regardless of how much I would have liked it to be the case. Either way, taking care of her wasn't a priority at the moment. My first order of business was to save Kasumi, also.
先輩、今のここに他のやつはいないのか？
それは。
Her eyes widened as I seized her by the shoulders, pulling her close.
教えてくれ先輩。他の生徒はいるのかいないのか？
Yeah, there are. She looked away from me and fell silent, ignoring my question. That wasn't it. That was actually her way of answering it.
俺は
I followed her gaze outside where I could see one silhouette after another pop up in the yard. Faces both familiar and new, both guys and girls, everyone from my ear.
おいおい。
Shiro was also taken back. I couldn't blame him. It really was a bizarre sight. I could tell there were about 200 people in the yard by now. Some were dressed in uniform, some in casual clothes, and some even in pajamas. All of them seemed completely out of it.
かすみは
I couldn't. I think I looked through everyone over there, and she didn't seem to be among them. With her there or not, this certainly didn't seem like a good sign.
見ろよあれ
Cheryl's voice rang uncharacteristically urgent. I followed his finger with my gaze to see a giant frame looming in the center of the yard, with students surrounding it. A giant monster, if I'd ever seen one.
カイン
If that thing was there, did it mean Sister Lisa was also around?
ダメだもう遅い
Cheryl's voice trailed off. Sakura looked away, while humor simply shivered in my grasp. I merely gazed at the spectre before me, completely dumbfounded. There was simply nothing I could do from here. Kane swung the giant lump of metal in his hands. Much like in the club, it erupted in purple lightning, swallowing 100 or so students in the blink of an eye, leaving nothing but bloody smoke and burnt flesh in their place. Himura wrapped her hands around my back and pressed against me to block my vision, as if thinking she could escape that nightmare by merely freezing to acknowledge its existence. But it was too late. Her frame was much too small to cover my eyes. Some of the pieces of meat and trays of what used to be my schoolmates were flung so hard they reached out to the third floor, splattering against the window in front of us. I could make out a severed head, and a piece of leg stuck against the window frame. That red mush was probably the remains of someone's heart, and the thing that looked like a blown-up balloon must have been a lung. I even spotted jaw, an eyeball, a turn of scalp, with hair still clinging to it, as well as half face. All destroyed beyond recognition. They all gave me condemning looks. Why didn't you come here earlier? Why was a bastard in our schoolway? If you had ever been around, no, we would never have ended up like this. I could practically hear my mind crumble. My whole world was falling apart. My day-to-day life a place for me to return to. Why did a bereaved fool like me ever delude himself into thinking he could protect them? Sheer frustration made my tears flow, and I was unable to stop them. I'd barely even known the faces of those massacred students, and that weighed the heaviest upon my soul. It felt like an insult to their memory. I shoved him aside and dropped my face in the window glass, yet I lacked the strength to ever even shatter something as thin as that. The window remained dark, as if mocking me for being completely powerless, as if telling me I could never save anyone, that I was just another sacrifice brought here to rot and be turned into sludge. I let out a deafening scream from the very bottom of my heart, cursing the name of my mortal enemy. I'd make him pay. I'd kill him. Kane too. And the priest. And Rusalka. And then Sakura. And that accursed Sister Lisa as well.
てめえら俺とやりたいなら買ってやるつまらねえ雑魚殺してエツに言ってんじゃねえぞ腰抜け野郎いい度胸だ
The temperature around us suddenly shot 10 or so degrees down. A whole arrangement of scornful laughs, a snort, a chuckle, a guffaw, and a howl reverberated across the walls, merging into one continuous fit of maniacal laughter. And beneath it the vilest, most genuine lust for another's blood.
じゃあ本番行こうか小僧せいぜい食い出のある生きのいい餌になれや
It was about to start. Wilhelm had yet to unveil the true face of his realm. Thus far, he had merely been playing around, but in this moment...
枯れ落ちろ恋人死骸を晒せ私の愛で朽ちるあなた私だけが知っているから
His voice reverberated across the night. The third stage of a kite. I wasn't thought about it by anyone, but I could still feel it. It comprehended sir on my skin.
ブリアローゼンカバリエ・シュバルツバルド
Could you say it's something like reality marble in Fate? For it didn't really have any influence on beings there, at least not in anime. An overwhelming sense of exhaustion washed over me, one more intense than anything I'd ever experienced before. I could barely breathe, let alone stand. I still have to read the mangas and light novels. Anyway, I'm a brave knight ready to drain ever life from all that there eventually is real. Such was the nature of Wilhelm's.
想像だ。さあ、どうするよ、小僧。
In response to a boost of his will, the crimson hue of the blood covering the air deepened. Cracks began to appear all over the ceiling and the walls. Even inanimate objects had their life and redrained. It was instinct alone that made me muster the last of my strength to leap with a scream. A whole swarm of stakes suddenly shot out of the gaping cracks currently surrounding us. Had I not managed to grab the confused girl and dive out of harm's way, she would have been scared like a pig. We were inside his belly. I had a long, since lost count of the number of stakes that appeared, all lasting for our blood. Was it a dozen? 100? Thousands? No. They sprouted in ends of thousands, like thorns of a nightmarish rose.
動けるか。
ま、なんとかな。
よし。だったら。
I had more resistance against this world than Hiroshima, so it was obviously me who should have fought him. But what of Kane? No, more importantly, what of Rusalka and Kasumi? Himura shivered in my arms. In the boundless forest of bloody stakes, I could make out remnants of bones and scraps of cloth hanging from their tips. Among them I recognized some as pieces of our school's uniforms.
足りねえよ、小僧。マリウスが集めたの300人。それっぽっちの劣等じゃ俺の腹は膨れねえ。ここのスラスチカは開かねえ。やるんだろ？買ってくれるんだろ、戦争を。退屈させんな、色男。てめえの面あいつに似すぎて、そこの女どもやりたくなるぜ。
Okay, come on, that should have basically pulled your trigger, man. It would pull my trigger already. In an attempt to drown out his ridiculing cackling roar of my own, I asked him the most important question of them all.
かすみは一体どこにいる？お前がさらったのか、ビルヘルム！
くったらねえ濡れ衣だな。俺は殺し合いに来たんだぜ。人さらいの真似事なんぞするかよ。
Yeah, he's not that kind of person, I guess. Rusalka, probably, if
そう
anyone.
いうのはマリウスの領分で探してみろよ。急がねえとえらい目に遭うぜ。
I suppressed my anger. That wasn't time for emotions. Kasumi was in Rusalka's clutches. I didn't have enough manpower to save her and fight those bastards off. I was up against Kane, Rusalka, and Wilhelm. I had to protect Kasumi, Himura, and the other students. Well, we don't know if there are any other students. It all was me and Shira. What should we do? What could I do? I had no time to hesitate. I had to make a choice right away, but I simply couldn't come up with anything.
仕方ねえな。
Shira spoke in an indifferent voice as if he'd realized my hesitation.
下の奴らは見捨てろ。優先順位だ。
Yeah, well, they were slaughtered already, so... Prioritize. Sakurai had me talk about that too, and she was indeed right, but...
それから先輩も無視だ。別にほっといても死にやしねえよ。なあ、そうだろ？それがお前の役目じゃねえの？
She returned to Sakurai, who hadn't said a word this whole time.
割り切ろうぜ、レン。こりゃもうしょうがねえ。
I possessed no words strong enough to express the inner turmoil inside me. But she was right.
だな。そうするがいいぜ、小僧ども。で、俺の相手はどっちだよ。
うるせえ！
Shira and I shot at in sync.
てめえの相手は
俺だ！
Shira held his arms around me as if to prevent me from lunging at Wilhelm.
第2ラウンド行こうぜ、吸血鬼野郎。てめえは俺が締めてやる。つうわけで、お前はとっととバカスミ取り返してこい。もたもたすんな。
I couldn't answer him right away. If I did, I wouldn't have anything good to say. Like, can you win? Or what do you plan to do? If the main goal of our fight was to get Kasumi back, then I certainly was the only one who could fight Rusalka. Well, Kane was. Kane was... damn it.
あとな、この割り振りは俺が判断したことだからよ。お前には責任とかそういうのはねえ。まあなんつうんだ、悪い連れの口車に乗っちまったとでも思えよ。
バカ野郎。
There was no way an excuse like that would fool me, but I could tell that he was actually showing me some consideration for once. Which is why.
死ぬなよ。
I turned around with those lone words. He was right in front of me. I felt something that I most certainly couldn't show her start welling up in my eyes the moment I saw her face. So,
俺は先輩を信じてる。
I muttered that, then wrapped my arms around her slender figure. I found her face and one of my few friends. I was dumb and naive, so I had no clue what sort of position she was in or what she was thinking, but my words and actions were probably driving her further and further into a corner. And at that moment I just wanted to put my thoughts into words.
俺にとって大事な人だから、なくしたくない。俺は何も知らないしわからないけど、だからもっと話したいし、一緒にいたいと思ってる。
藤井君。
これが終わったら俺たちと帰ろう。先輩はこんなところにいちゃダメだ。
私は。
See you later, I guess. She stopped herself before she could say the rest, while I broke off into a dash after away from the group. I could still feel Wilhelm Schur's battle beginning behind me. You guys seriously had better not die. Run away if it looks like you're going to lose. No matter what it takes. All you've got to do is survive until I bet Rusalka and take back Hasumi. But a moment later,
気に入らない。
I thought I heard a voice.
本当に気に入らない。彼を怪我すのもいい加減にしろ。
Huh? I felt like I heard something, but maybe it was just my imagination. What? Was that about Kane again? And Rusalka controlling him? Once they could no longer see Ren, Shiro and Wilhelm sprang into action. Their first strike came at the same moment, revealing the overwhelming difference between their overlapping attacks. Surging gunshots vanished, replaced by the roar of soaring stakes that tore the air asunder. The demonic weapons he launched as though for fun a shot forward, putting the mother firearm by opposed to shame. Wilhelm lunged forward with a roar and a swift right hook that tore through all. It was unfocused and ruthless, a deathly talent with naught but pure power behind it. Even if Shiro somehow managed to dodge the air-splitting arm, what would that accomplish in the end? His gun meant nothing. He tried it on the demon before, but the bullets couldn't even pierce his skin. He had already shot him in the eyes, either arms, and indirectly his tiptoes, all the way to his ribs, but they did nothing. Shiro's marksmanship bordered the realm of superhuman. His ability to hit bullseye with each and every one of his bullets, while dodging with him deadly fists, stood testament to his deep-rooted abnormality. Like before, he couldn't actually make out his foe's attacks, not to mention that if even one of them hit him, he'd be done for. He was still as human as he was last time. He understood better than one that he'd break apart like a scarecrow if he got hit. And so to him, this was undoubtedly just as much a strenuous effort as it was a one-sided game whose result was already set in stone.
ほらほらどうした!そんなもん聞かねえのは分かってんだろ!
With the first round over, both parties were done testing each other, just like they were animals belonging to on completely different levels of the food chain, so did the way they approached fighting differ. The Impaler, a cruel, bloodthirsty vampire, an atrocious scoundrel clad in the night's blessings in the shape of stakes forming all over his body. With his brutality and complete control of both offense and defense, he had openings for his opponents to exploit. With decades of fighting experience, Wilhelm was leagues beyond Shiro Yusan in every aspect. And in truth, Shiro hadn't properly perceived a single one of Wilhelm's attacks from the moment the battle began. For he'd unleashed countless bloody stakes and supersonic punches, the entire hallway was completely decimated at this point. Shiro hadn't seen any of them, and to have been far-fetched to consider Shiro could have been predicting close moves given the difference in their combat experience. So Shiro just kept dodging them somehow. He'd given himself to his instincts and, as if having obtained a divine foresight, kept performing what should have been a 1 in thousands, no, a 1 in 10,000 miraculous dodge.
なんかあるだろ、考えてきたんだろ、用意してきたんだろ、ほら出せよ、殺します。
and as such Wilhelm was also drawn to that inexplicable potency he displayed. He was up against a subclass monkey who didn't have enough power to match him on equal terms, yet he proved to betray all expectations last time. He simply couldn't help feeling that the brat would find a way to thoroughly entertain him. A game like that was one of a kind. He was the strangest beast he had met in his path of carnage. He might have not possessed the one-eyed, ancient knight's perverse obsessions, but in this case alone we had two ones most curious to know what the brat's insides looked like. And in truth, Shiro never once thought of giving up. It was his mind rather than his body that was in overdrive. Holes littered the building, stakes showered from all angles like a school, yet Shiro paid no heed to the gradually accumulating cuts over his body and instead calmly thought over the design of the attacks he dodged up to this point. The first thing he verified was that the demons of the Obsidian Round Table excelled in endurance and tolerance for damage. So long as he had to fight the bastards, it was an obvious decision to first figure out a method to actually wound them. Looking towards things in the long run during a situation where a single hit would kill him instantly was insane in of itself, and to make matters worse, Shiro was yet unaware of the fact that his foes had long eliminated all their human weak points. So any onlookers would see Shiro struggle not for more than folly, the cruel despair of being up a river without a paddle. But at the very least, there was no greater opportunity he would have for Shiro to study their weaknesses. The Ivory Demon was so interested in the young man that he was willing to play along with him to a certain level, since he had a tendency to jest and underestimate his opponents, a trait held by many of those with overwhelming power. He was truly ideal for Shiro to try all sorts of tricks on. And what was more,
うさんくさいんだよ無敵なんつうのはガキの妄想かっつうの
he couldn't stand the fact Ren was the only one who received a real trump card in this entire business. Shiro continued to dodge past the raining dance of death, muttering juvenile complaints under his breath. All of his attempts to counterattack ended up in utter failure. Shiro's complaints about the bastard's fortitude were perfectly valid. His bullets could not even leave a scratch on his eyes and eardrums. The abomination did not even flinch. He may have had a human-shaped body, but he possessed none of the weak points a human should. It didn't appear that modern guns could even irritate the demon of the night. A wolf was no match for a rifle. The strong devoured the weak, such was the law of the world. And that ridiculously simple fact rendered all of Shiro's attempts to fight back completely futile. That was the nature of absolute strength, it allowed for no ifs, no questioning, and no doubts. One could not overturn the perfect laws of the food chain by mere tricks and scientific gadgets. Or at least, it should have been so.
まあそういう玉じゃねえよな
Shiro knew that his opponent wasn't the type who sought the sort of uncharming and faultless strength that would render him invincible. Wilhelm would be damned if he had to put up with boring fights and easy victories. All who opposed him were as much his food and prey as they were his rivals. He did not mind some resistance, or rather he welcomed it with open arms. In short, it was a matter of thrills. One needed challenges and a sense of achievement to truly feel alive, and so Wilhelm lasted for a battle where he could rejoice in fulfilling carnage. And if that craving was as deep-rooted in a vampire as Shiro thought,
どうした悪あがきは決まったか
せかすなってどれにしようか選んでるんだからよっ
With that, Shiro suddenly turned to the very epicenter of the stake barrage and dashed forward. The two unwavering arrogances clashed. Both of them were certain the victory, both of them sought thrills. And with that bizarre twinge of empathy between them, the two finally shifted their battle into a true fight to the death. Meanwhile, as Shiro and Wilhelm's battle waged on, Kay was out in the courtyard trying to stop Kane's rampage. There was little distance between her and the dead berserker. She could close the gap indeed, but even so, she cried out to the giant, hoping that her words, her voice, would bring him to halt. She knew it was a spineless action. She knew it all stemmed from her fear to face reality, yet Kay could not help herself. At the next moment her pleas were met with a roar and intense light as if to reject them. The lightning struck Kay, frying her flesh and bones. Her body went flaccid from the electricity coiling around her nerves to the point she could barely move. The pain was so intense it froze her in place, and yet, at the same time, her heart hurt far more than her body. For she felt that the lightning coursing through her were the cries of his endless grief. Okay, what the hell is Kane to her? Countless thunderclaps ravaged her body in endless succession, prying a cry of pain out from behind her clenched teeth. She felt like she was about to lose consciousness with every single strike, but she kept her eyes on Kane and kept pressing forward. And yet, anxiety clouded her thoughts. Wouldn't he just run away the moment she drew close enough? Could he even properly recognize her? Even the agony that would have killed 100 men she was currently exposed to was nothing less to those thoughts. The emotion driving her feet was akin to resignation. Yes, this was her punishment. After all, she didn't want to see him like this. Even though he was being controlled and didn't have a scrap of his own will left behind, she still wanted him to stay beautiful as in her memories. Beautiful? Really? That guy was beautiful? Really? She couldn't stand seeing him as a puppet of a witch. How ridiculous. Where did she get off acting like she was virtuous after all the lines she dripped so far? It was laughable. And why was it she could put up with it all when Babylon still held the strings? Was she under the impression that it didn't matter if he was being made to kill so long as someone with good conscience was behind it? If that wasn't self-satisfaction, then what was that? She was horrible. The worst. The absolute lowest. In her mind she didn't deny that, but... She could only keep pleading pathetically. She embraced and clung him tightly, words her only tool to hopefully soothe him. Not sure if what you're doing is a good idea. Truly become nothing more than a disposable corpse. A puppet soldier controlled by the Queen of Shadows, fated to vanish as a sacrifice pawn, a mere tool to her that was beyond. Uh-oh. A sharp pain ran through her abdomen before she could continue. It felt as if an insect was crawling within her body and cutting up her innards with its claws. Rusalka's curse was being invoked, a smirk of the cunning witch disguised in that repulsively awful form ran through her mind. She said the curse would take effect if Kay betrayed them. Indeed, trying to stop Kay in this situation could count as betraying the obsidian round table, but while Kay understood that she did not loosen her grip around him, she couldn't. Otherwise, she would lose sight of the very thing she craved. She would lose the very core of her being that made her cry and stop him to begin with. You dame witch, you are going down. Then she heard the most grating and unpleasant voice she knew. She looked up to find the witch standing above her, looking exactly as she had just pictured her. She stood behind the fence on the school's roof, smiling as she looked down Kay in the courtyard as though she had found something truly amusing. Rusalka dressed Kay in a cheerful tone, not paying the slightest attention to her pain. For Kay was no lip reader, she could somehow hear what the witch was saying from the distance. Her tone made it sound as if she'd been sure Kay would betray her. Well, I've seen some pics, by the way, that I didn't like Rusalka, so yeah, I don't like her anymore at all. Or maybe I do. I don't know. So now that I think about it, I'm not into kids, so yeah. She might be 8 years old, but still having that. Oh, crap. And with that, Rusalka moved away from the fence. Kay glared up in anger at the woman, no at her enemy.
裏切り者 そう、優しいのね、マレウス。あれだけ侮っていた私のこと、あなたは一度でも仲間と思ってくれてたなんて。
How can a tool betray someone then? Right? The curse shouldn't be invoked then.
光栄ね。けれどごめんなさい。そんなお情けにも等しい城塞も、私はお前に。
Nice. Even pity. She would not think twice about casting her away. And now she'd used it to prove she belonged to the Obsidian Round Table, that she was just as depraved as the others. Cain was not paying heed to the decay of his body, too busy with his rampage. The woman concerning the corpse would have to be defeated to bring him to a stop. That meant there was but one solution. All other circumstances were nothing compared to that. She resolved herself, let go of Cain, and then she spoke. Her heart never manifested with those words. The ancient sword, Rokane, shining scarlet ramp in flickering flames like the sun, forged from the legendary millimeter inscribed in the Takeuchi documents. An account of the age of the gods. Right now I'm curious if that sword really did exist. Hirokane. Oh. Alright, it's a bit different. Alright, Hirokane. Legendary Japanese metal set to shine brightly in a way that resembles flames. Its name translates roughly as flame-colored metal or brilliant scarlet metal. Well, that's actually true here. Nice. Alright, she held up her crude but well-sharpened blade and glared at the witch on the roof that she had to defeat.
誤射、裏切り、同士口。戦場なら何もおかしなことはないでしょう。ならいいわ。教えてあげる。誰にも何にも譲れない。こんな私にだって逆鱗があるということを。
For the witch's actions clashed against the very purpose Kay had decided to carry up the sword, a person she would do anything for, even if it meant staining her hands in treachery. And so now she would teach the bitch that her prized treasure was not as frail as to give in to some weathered old crone. Kay would show her that she wasn't going to just look the other way and bear big puppet any longer. Yeah, kick that old hag's ass. Go for it, Kay. Well, unless Ren will be first there. Rusalka moved away from the fence to the center of the roof. She glanced down and smiled at the long line concourse there, her luscious gaze slithering along her torn clothes like a snake.
Kasumi? Sa, 目覚めなさい.
You bitch, you're not going down. Rusalka gently stroked the girl's Kasumi's cheek, her fingers treading carefully as for she was treating a fragile porcelain doll. Perhaps it had tickled as Kasumi trembled slightly. Her consciousness began to merge out of the sea of sleep. She faintly opened her eyes and looked around to get a grasp of what was happening to her. The first thing that came to her eyes was someone wearing a black uniform, Rusalka. Second was the dark sky. Last was the familiar center of the school roof. Once she acknowledged all that, Kasumi's consciousness finally returned to reality.
おはよう、かすみ。ルサルカ。どうして？なんで私こんなところで寝てるの？
She's going down. She's going down.
何？一体何がどうなってるの？
Alright, so basically Kay will attack that red-haired bitch. And then Ren hopefully will save Kasumi. Or something like that will happen. Startled by the situation, she tried to stab, but soon realized she couldn't move her body at all. Her body was in perfect condition, she hadn't been dragged, and her muscles didn't feel paralyzed. Not even stiff, her mind was also clear. She felt all fine, and yet she couldn't move, as for she'd been bound from hand to foot.
かすみってば、本当に騒がしいわね。頭の悪い子犬を見ているようで楽しいわ。
Kasumi consequently, frightened by Rusalka's smile. All of her instincts screamed there was something very wrong about the sight before her.
どうしちゃったのかな。今度は借りてきた猫みたいにおとなしくなっちゃって。
And that stupid bitch could not help having her sadistic side stimulated by the sight of the terrifying girl.
いい顔するじゃないの、かずみ。私ね、そういう人の怯えた表情を見るのが大好きなの。だから。何？あなたのその怯えた顔、もっともっと私に見せてちょうだい。
Okay, Ren, seriously, how long will be running there? The shadows at Rusalka's feet began to slowly build up. They took on a three-dimensional form, looking like slimes out of a video game. No, the shadows squared, filling Kasumi with physical disgust. Don't you dare! They slowly crept toward her paralyzed prey, quivering and wriggling suggestively as they coiled around her limbs. Don't you dare! Faced with that, what felt like an endless colony of giant worms crawling all over her skin, Kasumi broke out into goosebumps and screams. No, don't you dare! She's worse than Spina!
ダメ。まだ始まったばかりじゃない。
Okay, Ren, now you have to literally annihilate her. Do you understand that, Ren? You have to destroy that red-haired bitch. The tentacles tightened themselves around Kasumi even harder than Rusalka's coup. Kasumi's body creaked under the severe tension. Alright, Ren. We are giving her a painful death. Do you understand that? Rusalka is getting a painful death now. Kasumi let out a voiceless scream at the stark intensity of the pain rushing through her. Her eyes flooded with tears that cascaded down her cheeks. One of the shadows wrapped itself around Kasumi's neck and strangled her, with her breathing cut off. Kasumi's mouth widened like that of a goldfish begging for food. Don't you dare. Kasumi played around as she flapped her mouth in an attempt to breathe. Tears, saliva, and mucus soiled her face. But the tentacles showed her no mercy, tightening their grip around her neck with enough force to break it. Still suffocating, Kasumi began to black out. All she could make out in her blurry vision was the load and a cruel smile on Rusalka's face. You are going down, you bitch. Just when the idea that she might die crossed Kasumi's mind, a shadow wrapped around her neck released the grip. Kasumi choked on the sudden rush of fresh air that came flooding into her lungs. Where are you, Ren, dude? How long will you be running, damn it?
ごめんね。苦しかった？
Try it yourself, you stupid.
もうやめて。ルサルカ。だからダメだってば。これからが本番なんだから。大丈夫。今度は優しくしてあげるからね。
She snapped her fingers and the shadows began to engulf Kasumi again. Hey? Kasumi screamed from the skinny touch of the shadows crawling around her bare skin. It was a sensation like none other she'd ever experienced, and it terrified her to the very core, for it had an otherworldly chill about it. What tormented her was not so much the shadows creeping into her skin and the sensation of them eating into her very core, her soul. The condensed light, containing the root of being known as Kasumi, her sacred land, and the values that had ingrained themselves within, were at risk of being veritably violated. Ren, can you appear finally, goddammit? You are taking way too long to run around that skull. Naturally, she couldn't take it. She felt she was going crazy. With her common sense of reality seemingly dimensions apart from what had been happening, there was no way she could retain her senses in this situation. She was just an ordinary girl, yet here she was, being assaulted by phantasmagoric shadows with a very real possibility she might not survive. For she prayed it was a dream, she could not help feeling that the jaws of the monster she woke up in were very real. All she could do was scream. All she could do was lie there as the predator looked red daylight into her prey.
もうやめて。こんなひどいこと。ひどいこと？一体何のことかしら。私はただあなたと遊んでるだけだし、あなただってとても喜んでるじゃない。
Okay, by saying that, I hate her even more. God damn it. You seem like having fun. You've got to be shitting me. The girl's comment was uncalled for as far as Rusalka was concerned. She's dumb. It wasn't like she was an angel herself. After all, just a few nights before, it was at that one that it finally hit that bitch.
あなた、あの事件のこと覚えてないの？何のこと？
She looked at Cosmo closely. There were no signs of her playing dumb. Apparently, all her memories of what happened, of the wave of her scene, were completely gone.
あなた、記憶を失ってるんだ。
Wasn't that fucking obvious? Now, that was interesting. If Rusalka brought the girl's memories back, just how would she react? Would she cry, scream, break? Oh, you fucking don't even try. Or would she go mad, just like how Rusalka herself renounced and cursed God in that cold cell, finding respite on madness? Whatever the case, you would definitely be interesting. No, Rusalka's American spoke up in a sweet voice.
あなたの記憶、呼び起こしてあげる。
She's retarded! She's completely... She walked up to the paralyzed Kasumi and seized the girl's chin with her fingers.
さあ、よーく見て。
Don't look! Don't look! Close your eyes! Kasumi stared at the image of herself reflected in Rusalka's eyes. What was it that the girl reflected in those blue eyes? Kasumi herself thought it was done. Memories forgotten and suppressed slowly bloomed back to life like a blossoming flower. Oh, god damn it. A crimson flower that smelled of blood. Oh, god damn it. That bitch. Alright. Slow and painful death, that's what Rusalka gets. All the tragedies that happened in that park rushed through her mind, momentarily overtaking all her senses. Many deaths, desert flesh, the resignance of bone, the wonderful splattered blood. Kasumi screamed and disturbed those abominable memories. She tried to move out of any impulse to flee, but that was no use. The curse still left her thoroughly petrified.
真実を知った気分っていうのは。
I don't know what takes her in so long, seriously. Kasumi's agony was Rusalka's pleasure. That bitch, the witch's face warped into a wicked, malevolent smile.
嘘、こんなの嘘。いや、
Kasumi's eyes widened as she let out a piercing shriek. By the time the sound abated, the girl had lost consciousness.
あれれ、かすみちゃん。
And that bitch lightly flicked Kasumi's cheek. However, the girl did not wake up, no matter how many times she did so.
あらら、気を失っちゃうなんて、まだまだ人事なのかしらね。この子ったら、意外とずうずうしいのかも。
Her smoke curved like a crescent moon. In other words, she felt the potential joy in their sight of the world. Oh no 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 no.
でもはしたないの。こんな無防備になっちゃ、誘われてると思われちゃっても仕方ないんだからね。
Alright, someone give me some power so I can hear us. Rusalka licked her lips and took a look inside Kasumi at the form of the soul dwelling within her. Ah, so that was it. Rusalka understood what Kasumi's role was now. She had been chosen to be the first executioner, and the reason for that wasn't as trite as her mere relationship with the boy. Now it all made sense, with blood of that lunatic cursing within her. Such an outcome was inevitable. If one merely looked at the results, they'd have to accredit the matter to the impeccable Mercury's design, but it would have been a remiss to undervalue Babylon's cunning, who at that time seemed to have pulled the wool over the eyes of most of the Obsidian Round Table. As a woman herself, Rusalka had no express honest admiration for the potency of that maternal love. Unfortunately, as a witch, she could not help rejoicing at the prospect of laying her hands on such trump card, her feelings of admiration overshadowed by malevolent gratitude. She had honored her to the devil's castle in her hands. Finally! But before she could devour that sweet soul, the door leading from the roof to the school slammed open. Around the iron door with the force of inertia and completely dashing up the stairs. I clenched my hands in the face. My head was burning with white heat, with my worst fears confirmed. It took almost my willpower to keep myself from snapping. What took you so long, dude? That bitch witch stood there, smiling under the red moonlight.
お楽しみ中なのに無粋ね。でもあなたなら歓迎しちゃうわ。いらっしゃい、レン君。
ルサルカ！
ちょっと早かったわね。そうね。あと少しだったのに。
Faster? That was freaking slow! Rusalka glanced down at her feet. Lying there was the prone form of none other than Kasmi. Her body was entirely engulfed in shadows, only her face was still visible. All I could see from this angle was her expression, but the twisted look of a gun eater said it all. You've done it now. Bring it on, bitch! You've crossed that one line that should never have been crossed! She was still breathing. She don't lost consciousness. Fuck that. Nothing could excuse what that bitch Rusalka had done, not in a million years. So...
待ってろ！今助けてやるから！
I'll kill those bitch.
すぐに馬鹿げた非日常から解放してやる！
I quickly found Guillotine, tempered with pure killing intent. I stomped on the asphalt with enough force to break it to pieces and was able to unleash my blinding rage when... Rusalka resigned the words to her from her own number. It manifested in the form of long and crooked iron chains that immediately shot after me, showing my accelerated actions as though they had a will of their own. I could almost hear their murmuring, I won't ever let you get away, don't run, I'll try through these. Her Amantes was like a clingy ex-girlfriend. It felt so vindictive, and thinking of her death, I wanted to throw up. I wouldn't let such pathetic things interfere with my lightning dash. Yet I still couldn't believe what had just happened. A single strike, a single slice of the Guillotine had shattered Rusalka's underwear like it was nothing. It was too easy. There was no way a top-class weapon fused with itself an apparently innocent result which could break that easily.
やるね、レイ君。でもまだ終わりじゃないよ。
And more importantly, how could she possibly still be alive after I had shattered what should have been her very soul? My question vanished a second later as huge stone walls covered in spikes suddenly sprouted on the ground at both of my sides. Faced with the dual threat of getting crushed and impaled, I jumped with all my might before those execution tools could close in on me. Just made it. The spikes had grazed part of my leg, but I survived.
上手上手。
My expressions were confirmed. Not even an ounce of agony appeared on Rusalka's face as I sliced several spikes of one of the walls. It was like she was completely ignoring the principles of Amantes. Damn it. So basically, her Amantes is... Alright, I might be wrong, but I think it's creation. So basically she can create weapons. And... that makes me hate her even more because I freaking love that possibility in Fate. God damn it. Damn it, I wasn't going to make any progress whether I ran or attacked at this point. I couldn't even approach Kasmi, much less do something about that bitch.
でもまだまだ不慣れね。ほら、こんなに読みが浅い。
The deeply ominous undertone to her cheery voice sent shivers down my spine. Not mine. The next thing that showed up was a steel figure modeled after a girl. The double doors on its front were wide open, revealing its interior of countless sharp spikes.
レン君だって聞いたことくらいあるでしょ。アイゼルネ・ユングフラン。日本語で言うと鉄の処女だったかしら。
I've heard the second name, the first one never. Sorry. Iron Maiden. Yeah, I'd heard of those, alright. It was the name of an insane torture device. Yeah, it's insane as fuck. As the name implied, was a so-called casket made of iron. What set it apart from the rest was that its front had the sculpture of a woman, while the inside was littered with iron thorns. Victims would be pushed into the casket while still alive and had the thorns cover and drain them all blood until they expired. Rather than a torture device, it was more of an execution device. It probably also had a nearby, just like the chain and walls from before.
どうなってやがる
It was impossible. It was all utterly incomprehensible, and she allowed me no time to think. The iron figure approached me in an attempt to swallow me in. It was obviously planning to turn me into Swiss cheese. I baited with a somersault, but the chain was already waiting for me where I planned to land.
一体どうなってんだ
Yeah, this clearly was normal. I didn't claim to be an expert on their abilities, but this wasn't right. She was breaking the rules. I thought there was only one Achnerbe for one person. Did she have multiple Achnerbe? If that were possible, why couldn't the others do it? Oh yeah, that's true. Wow, goddammit. She stole the freaking Lisa's Achnerbe. That bitch stole the Achnerbes of more than one person. Oh. So she's a weakling, basically. Her Achnerbe must be freaking weak. Since I didn't have all that many options, I didn't have much of basic to go on. It was clearly an abnormality. She had too many weapons, too many exceptions, and their forms were too irregular. So basically, I know that creating weapons and so on was right in my opinion, but there is one thing that has to be mentioned, right? You have a freaking guillotine, so you use only one weapon and you perfect that. Yet she has many weapons and she's not perfecting them, so yeah, you're that step ahead. That's why you have the advantage actually, if you use it correctly. I almost felt like commending her for her diverse aptitude. Even petty tricks became a work of art once polished to perfection. It seemed she had a perfect grasp on all the loopholes in the business. Perhaps she noticed uneasiness past my glare as Rusalka gave me a smug look, a bewitching smile on her lips. Not really bewitching. Like a cat playing with mouse, a vixen who guilt countless men to their undoing.
理解できないって顔してるね。一体何がわからないのかな。ほらほら、疑問があるならお姉さんに聞いてごらんなさい。
But you are pretty small to be honest.
うるせえ、黙ってろよ若作り。
怖い怖い。ま、教えてくれなくても、レン君が何を悩んでるのかなんてお見通しなんだけどね。
Pretty sure it's not yours.
わからない？理解不能？嬉しいわね。ゾクゾクしちゃう。その顔が悔しそうに歪んでいるところを見れるだなんて思ってもいなかったわ。生物は原則一つ。魂が結びついてるから壊れれば術者も死ぬ。何も間違ってはいないわよ。あなたの懸念は至極まっとう。強いて言うなら、何事にも例外はつきものということ。車に乗ることと馬の手綱を握ることは違うけれど、どちらも距離を詰めるということは同じでしょ。芸達者になれば、それだけ見えるものが違うのよ。
In other words, she was not a matter of mastery, but a different area. She understood the side of Hunter that neither nor the rest of them in the blue knew existed, and that made her an exception even among their ranks. An old seeker for Bernards, the ancient witch of the abyss. And as if to prove my observation, she produced something that looked like a bundle of papers in her hand.
私の生物は一つだけ。それがこの日記。
Sorry, but the word diary really brings back bad memories because I really did not like the anime that was about diaries. A lot of diaries. And basically battle royale and shitty main characters. Alright, a diary. That was Rusalka's Ethnerbe then.
だとしたら、こいつらは一体何なんだよ
I dared the charging Iron Maiden and cut down the chains that tried to knock me up from behind, not daring to stop even for a moment. The bitch sits out trance while we were in the middle of a conversation, and above all, nothing she said matched up with the facts. If that eerie bundle of papers was her weapon of choice, then where the hell were those chains and torture devices come from?
不思議なことなんて何一つないわよ。だって生物は魂と想念を糧に生まれるもの。 重要なのは形じゃなく、そこにどんな妄念が詰まっているか。
If she showed you that freaking diary, actually, couldn't you make the slash that was, from a distance?
ほら、この国でもあるでしょ？死を裁く怖い山が、あらゆる罪状と裁きを刻んだ手記とか。仮にそれが選ばれたら、ねえ、一体どうなると思う？
You'd finally die?
まさか、そのまま殴りつける形になるとは言わないわよね、レン君。
No, you would do that to yourself. So was trying to say that thing in her hands was a grimoire? A fucked up picture book that she used to physically assault others, but rather was filled with spells and other mumbo jumbo? With that, all the pieces of fun started coming clear in my mind. The Iron Maiden, bending chains, dark red spikes. All the weapons Rusalka used had one thing in common.
拷問具。そうか。そいつに記されているのは。
ご明察。私の生物はエリザベート・バートリーの日記なのよ。
Never heard of that person. I'm sorry.
彼女が晩年、それらの拷問器具を使用して楽しんだ経歴が赤裸々に書き綴っているわけ。だから。
I'm sorry to say that, so basically she was also a
あとは
retard.
もうわかるでしょ？
Just as finished that monkey remark, chains came rushing out Rusalka's shadow like a tidal wave. A whole bunch of girls torture tools on power one another and an another controls them. You've got to be shitting me.
反則じゃねえか、そんなもん。
でしょうね。まあそれでも形成以外の頃は軽減させた拷問器具のダメージも私の肉体にフィードバックしてたからさほど万能ってわけでもないのよ。けれどほら、私ったら努力家だから根気よく年月をかけて練り上げるのは得意なのよ。ほら。
For I was pretty much steering through the surging sea of chains, barely even able to see ahead. It was almost like it had no effect on her. No matter how many different torture rules I dug, it seemed like it was doing no damage to her. It was like the car and horse example she told me, unlike us, who used our Nanerbe in the way we're to. She discovered alternate methods and applied them at her will. Her cunning and mastery of the arcane made all those irregular powers possible. As such, aiming for victory through shattering her never was futile. It was not desire, but she herself that I had to cut down.
いいのかよ。そんなにベラベラと自分の生物について語っちまってよ。
But when it came to the source of her confidence,
構わないわよ。拷問器具のびっくり箱なんて所詮形成以外の能力なんだから、知られたところで何も変わらないわ。
in other words, she was still going easy on me. Summoning all those monstrosities was mere child's play to her. She was at a deeper level I hadn't reached yet. Hers was not mere foolish cockiness, she had real power to back it up. Nah, let's not go that far. I'm pretty sure she would be easily beaten by the freaking Nazis that are levels ahead of her. It only seemed like she had let her guard down while she merely toyed with me.
あら？レオンから聞いてないの？活動、形成、創造、流出。生物を操るエイビヒカイトには4つのレベルがあるっていうこと。
Sakurai hadn't told me about them before, but she hadn't given me a detailed explanation of Beryach or Absoluch. Rusalka's monkey smile deepened as she read my expression.
そう。それより上の異界については教えてもらってないんだ。あの子はそういうサービス精神が足りないといつも思うのよね。
そいつは嬉しくて涙が出るよ。それで残り2つっていうのは一体どんなものなんだ？
You'd realize, I hope actually, that he will try to activate them immediately. Rusalka winked and blew me a kiss. Pressing my expression, I asked her about Beria and Tsiluch. A situation that me to no end, but I had to get as much information out of her as I could.
まずは創造異界についてね。創造っていうのは自分と自分の生物にとって都合のいいルールを一つだけ生み出すってこと。そしてこのルールは物理常識には縛られない。どんな高等無形なことだって現実と化すの。
Dude, you've already done that! You've done that! When you were attacked and you freaking said that you want to stop the time, dude. You can do it now.
そんな
Was that really possible? Rusalka didn't appear to be lying.
まるでデタラメな話でしょ。言ってみれば世界をペテンにかける能力、
Dude!
それが想像以外よ。でもまあそれもまた物理法則の内
During
側と
the
いえば
thing
内
fight
側
with
なんだけど、
Spinner. You can do it, man.
想像の効果が及ぶのは発動させた術者が規定する範囲の中にいるものすべて。これが波動ね。世の中がどうあってほしいかと願う気
Yeah.
質を持つ
Okay,
けど、
never mind. Go to the
レイ
next
なん
one.
かがその代表例だわ。
Next one.
そして逆に自分の体を変性させる場合、これは愚道ね。クリストフなんかがこれに当たるけど、代表的なのはマキノかしら。
But isn't it
レン君
freaking
は会ったこと
obvious?
がないけどね。そうした性質の差異はあれど、どちらにしても想像は強力無比な奇跡の技よ。どんなルールを授かるかは術者の渇望と生異物の相性で決ま
I
る。
wonder if he can realize that he already used that.
渇望
An unfulfilled dream you kept on chasing and wishing for. Your creation and fulfillment of that dream, and my craving would probably.
波動か愚動か、こればっかりは自然に決まるものだから後天的に変えるのは難しいけれど、どちらにしてもここに到達できて一流。それ以下は紛れもなく凡俗でしょうね。
What if we actually can do both at the same time somehow? Right? Maybe. So that was it. That's why she was. God damn it. She was so confident. I must have looked like nothing more than about her in my present state.
じゃあその上の流出っていうのは何なんだ。
流出以下に関しては誰も到達していないから詳しくは知らないわ。せいぜいが想像
Let's
の
go there.
超強力版ってことくらい。
Let's jump to that level immediately.
仮説だけはあるけれど、おそらくは想像のルールが術者の意識する範囲から流出する。
So basically going berserk, kind of.
到達してからのお楽しみよね。もっとも
Do it now. Her face only warped for about a single second.
そんな考えたくもないんだけど。
Come on, man. You know what you can do. She stared at me with a face full of complex and contracted emotions as she resumed her attack. Giant stone walls and needles so big that they were more like long, sharp lances shot me. I dodged the stone slabs, but the flesh of my left arm vanished as I tried to bounce one of the needles off. A single touch of needle was enough to melt through my clothes and burn my skin like acid. Rusalka broke out into another sadistic grin when she saw it eat into my bones.
どう？私の説明わかりやすかったかしら？
It was way too long and kinda boring.
それなりにな。
Should have answered the way I did. Rusalka sounded like she was enjoying herself. I didn't learn all that much about Absolute, but I felt I understood the basic principles of Theria now. It was all about discovering a rule that made all sorts of unrealistic and convenient phenomena happen, and forcefully imposing it on yourself and others. In that case, the pitch-black darkness currently covering the school and the red moon in the sky were.
この夜も想像の発動によるものなのか。
Yeah, so basically, dude, as I said, I was also well, freezing time would be cool, but on the other hand, making her freaking be decapitated, you know, in the actual freaking guillotine would be cool. Would it be now? Oh my god, what am I saying?
そうよ。これはベイの想像。想像が発動した今、この世界全体があいつの腹の中ってわけ。
Ew.
もっとも今の場合、強固な異物が多すぎて従前に威力を発揮できていないけどね。あとはまあおもちゃがすぐ壊れないように遊んでるからかな。そんなところじゃないかしら。
Me, Rusalka, Sakura, and Kate, the four of us, were all drawn to this world, and he showed a great interest in Shiro. He didn't want to kill him instantly, and Tooth was going easy on us. On us, sorry. When she said we were in his belly, she probably wasn't speaking metaphorically or anything. If I was the only one here and he went all out, my soul could probably melted into this blood-sucking night in a few minutes or so. All the questions plaguing me had been answered. As such, now was fine time for.
さあ、サービスはここでおしまい。
With that somewhat regretful voice, she told me she was done playing around.
よく見ててね、レン君。私、全部見せちゃうんだから。
Not interested. She was playing with me just like Wilhelm was. She never had any intention of letting me get out of this alive from the start. For she hadn't made any suspicious moves, and I couldn't feel any killing it from her. The air around me suddenly froze over. It was coming, the craving, the creation figment of an ancient witch in child's body was on its way to tear this reality. Her long hair, the same color as the moon, danced in the darkness.
物見が眠るさよなかに。
Alright, I don't want to say, but probably Ren won't realize anything by himself, so how about number 2, you do something? It was an echo different from voice.
みなそこを離れることぞ嬉しけれ。
Something that wasn't air passed through me, a vibration that shook not my eardrums but my soul.
皆の表を頭もて。波立て遊ぶぞ楽しけれ。住める大気を震わせて。 互いに高く呼び交わし、緑の濡れ髪打ち震い。
Something was coming. The torches surrounding me disappeared just as suddenly as they appeared, but I couldn't run. That ominous song had dropped my feet off the very concept of fleeing. It was melma, and at the same time a frothy, captivating and beautiful song of a witch.
乾かし遊ぶぞ楽しけれ。
What song? What are you talking about, dude? Number 2, maybe, you know?
リア、
Ooh!
ジェイテハンガリアンナハチェラ
Yeah, cool. As soon as finished chanting, jet black shadows spread like coloring book pictures. Promptly jumped away from this immense tremor. Rusalka's shadow began covering the ground at an ungodly speed, almost as though a child had thrown a bucket of black paint at her feet. I couldn't see how it could have been dangerous. It wasn't even causing damage to anything. It didn't seem much different from the things binding Kasumi. However, it was bad news. There was no logical basis behind that assumption, but my sixth sense told me that thing was full of malice. It would probably be the end of me if I touched or stepped on it. A demon craving if I ever saw one.
勘がいいのね。でもまだ遅いわ。さあ、足を引いてあげる。
Hey. A scrap of the shadow touched my tiptoes right as I heard the voice, and its effect manifested right that instant. I all froze still, not just my body but everything. Was it the shadow's magic power that seeped into my body and colored out my soul and mind, like a fugitive on the run, or perhaps a fairy that brings about corruption? It brought my very existence to a halt. I realized that this binding power was so massive it would completely seize everything it took its prisoner. Touching my tiptoes was all it took for it to freeze me. If that shadow covered half my body, even my breathing would be completely at her mercy. A complete opposite of Shadow Dark, that was.
お前の想像。
そう。そして、あなたと私にある決定的な異界の差。
Come on, dude, you have to you know how to do that? Believe in yourself! And as if to prove her words, I couldn't shake off the shadow following me no matter what I did. I turned into but a mouse running about the roof in a frenzy, unable to escape the witch's grasp. But even so,
地味だって？確かにね。レイの想像に比べたら効果は単純、範囲も限定。空間そのものを塗りつぶすような派手さはないし、悪辣な力技でもない。
exactly.
でもね、言ったでしょ、レン君。私は技巧派、繊細なの。強力無比な唯一よりも、あらゆる状況に対応可能な千変万化を選んだだけ。
Told ya, she's not good. She's not freaking amazing in any of, she never perfected one thing. She just know the general basis for a lot. So, dude, invoke that Dame 3rd level of your Dame Ahnenerbe and decapitate her, please.
絶対強固な技であるほど改変は難しく、また融通も効かなくなる。単調ということは、すなわちアレンジが容易であると知りなさい。だから、ほら。
Come on, man. At that moment, as for reacting to the almost childlike exclamation or pride, the shadow following me gained thickness and rose up from the ground.
こんなこともできちゃう。驚いちゃったかしら？これも
Not really.
私の
Sorry.
影。
It's not startling at all. I was so awed by the unexpected sight that I couldn't speak. What? For before me loomed a pitch-black giant. What had been just scribbles on the ground gained another dimension and now towered above me.
驚いた？この世界にはね、エビヒカイト以外の魔術も存在するの。世界真理へ挑める高尚な勇気を保てる人間なんて、清掃騎士団ですら、あとは副首領くらいだけどね。
Yeah. Vice Commander, can you
あ
freaking...
なた方の常識なんて、世界のほんのひとかけら。
Can you freaking do something to Ren? Because he kind of, don't know what to do. Doesn't know what to do. It doesn't know what to do. God damn it.
どう？神秘の端に触れてみたいなら、レン君も影に仲間入りする？きっといいお友達になれると思うわ。
No thanks. Sounds boring. The surface of the shadow squared as if to prove her point. What I caught a glimpse of were probably the souls she had devoured. A family of darkness carefully sewn together from countless souls. I felt like I'd hear the screams of those trapped within from here.
それ！
Rage and fear both ran through me as I listened to her cheerful voice. The unpleasant shadow blocking my path stretched out with its far arm. I couldn't stand it. I refused to accept a wish like that. I cut off the giant's straight arm, trying to shake off the discomfort wrapping around my very soul. The shadow on the ground paid it no heed and continued to surge towards me, but I didn't even care about it anymore. I couldn't stand this craving. Tuck my foot, get me trapped with the rest of them. Did she seriously think I was gonna get eaten by her crappy apparition and dance up to the other fools in that two-dimensional world? Get fucking real, bitch.
お前が願っていることは単なる卑屈な嫉妬だろうが。
Yes! All she was doing was venting her frustration of wishing for things out of her league, and even getting innocent people involved in her shit. Where the hell did that bitch get off when all she was showing off was what a big loser she was? To say the least of.
俺の失踪を妨げようとかしてんじゃねえぞ。
I sliced the giant in two. Its counterattack hit me right in the stomach before the damn thing evaporated, but at least I got it out of the way. Still, it was mostly wasted effort. The shadow on the ground kept pursuing me unhindered. The shadows would probably keep springing forth from under Rusalka's feet for as long as she drew breath, and like the self-professed jack of all trades she was, it seemed like she excelled at endurance as well. I didn't stand a chance if this turned into a war of attrition. And she knew that too. Of course, there wasn't a hint of patience on her young foot, but the bewitching face of that old lady. Not really lady. She was slowly yet surely chipping away at my energy, chasing me around the field like some miserable rabbit.
頑張る頑張る。でも、どこまで逃げたって、私の影は追いかけ続けるわ。さっさと諦めて、この私に協力しなさい。
協力だと。
そうよ。一緒に協力して、目的を叶えるの。
Great, what was she on about? How ridiculous!
ふざけるな。お前の目的なんざ知ったことか。
Exactly.
あら、冷たい返事じゃない。
Well, no one likes you.
そういうところも、あなた
Had to say that. Rusalka slowly licked her fingertips. She had anticipated my response, yet her eyes were still pregnant with studies.
だから誘っちゃうのよね。ねえ、私と一緒になりましょう。今なら永遠が手に入るのよ。
No thanks. Faced with those dreamlike words.
永遠だと。
I felt like I got a glimpse at the witch's true wish for the first time. Unchanging eternity, the Iranian's fulfillment existing forever. I didn't give a shit about her proposals, but those words alone, as bizarre as they were, struck my heart in the oddest of ways. I felt almost like I had a glimpse, an innocent part of her said she is. As low as she had fallen, her nonetheless clung to and managed to preserve.
そう。永遠よ。エビヒカイトによって、いくら怪我や病や老化をしのげる体になっても、魂は違う。人間の魂は、100年程度で衰弱し、死んでしまうの。私のように、窓を収めて人間の枷から外れたとしても、せいぜい300年かそこらが限界なのよ。
Well, it's still too much for you, to be honest.
私の寿命は尽きかけているの。このままじゃ、そう遠くないうちに魂が死滅してしまう。でも、そんなのは嫌。私はもっと生きたい。まだ足りない。もっともっといっぱい殺して犯して楽しむの。
Alright, I would understand the first part, but when you started about killing and violating, sorry, but no, definitely not. Your wish will not be granted.
この町の8つのスワスチカを完成させれば、今まで集めた魂の数に相当する恩恵が得られるの。私が今まで殺してきた人数は、黒煙卓の中でもかなり上位だから、不老不死だって夢じゃない。
Alright, what I'm about to say is again very bad, but who probably the number of killings you've made, quantity is not something that you can equal to quality here. So I'm pretty sure that number you killed was a very low quality. So yeah, it won't be granted.
そして
Suddenly she paused in the midst of her passionate tirade.
私はようやく星になれる。
Huh? It was probably something that slipped in unplanned due to her excited state of mind. For I felt like I got a glimpse of a truth that even she herself had written and never intended to show anyone.
夜空に輝くあの光に、もう羨みながら手を伸ばさなくて済むから。
What?
マリウス・マレフィカムだなんて言わせない。星座を眺めるんじゃなくて、永遠に愛される不変になる。水銀を眺めて愛ぎ続けるようなままじゃ、きっと。
I'll never catch up. I probably just imagined her lips forming those last words. Rusalka looked at my face, but her mind was somewhere else, somewhere far, far away. It irritated me to no end. It pissed me off more than anything else she'd said or done today. Yeah, it was true. I did like eternity. I craved constancy. I wanted things to keep going on without change or end. Those things were still closely knit into me even now. And that was why I knew it was a goal that should never have been pursued, while beating one's breast. I couldn't stand her misguided violation of a concept I held so dear. She confused the means with the end. I couldn't accept it. Okay, I'm skipping the laugh because I really don't like it. Madly returned to Rusalka's features as she saw me glaring at her. The starry glance for my mind vanished right then and there. She would probably never show me that expression ever again.
でも安心して。あいつの代理だからって、あなたが悪いわけじゃないものね。
Her expression changed suddenly into a gentle smile, sending shivers down my spine and petrifying me as I was about to resume the fight. Where do you see that gentle smile, Dad? Seriously?
レン君、私、あなたのことすっごく気に入ってるのよ。
No, sorry.
だから、私のものになりなさい。
I've seen what you've been doing with other guys, and, I mean, not one at the same time, so no thanks. Not happening. Yeah, I did see the freaking CGs. Actually, all the CGs. I'm not proud of myself. And, yeah. Well, yeah. Other reason I really dislike her.
あなたはね、家 数少ないあの男の魔術サンプルなの。まるで賢者の石なのよ。あなたと一緒になれれば、あなたを知れば、私、もっと高く飛べるわ。
I told you, not happening. The shadow giant jolted back to life in contact with her hysteric voice. Its flat shape covering the roof rose into a three-dimensional plane as if about to wash away the roof like a tidal wave. The jet black wall fell on me. I had no time to run away.
あなたも不老不死になって、一緒に生きてあげてもいいわ。全人類を殺して、あなたと私が新たなアダムとイブになるのも素敵ね。そして、いっぱい子供を産んで、人間が増えたら気分で間引く。きっととても楽しいわ。
Sounds like a nightmare.
お願いレン君、私と一緒に来てちょうだい。
No, Ren, activate the level 3, please. She was insane. Just imagining a portion of such world made me sick to my stomach. She wanted to continue this stuff forever? Was her understanding of constancy really flawed to that level? Had she really lost the ability to do something as simple as find a point where her reasoning failed itself? So that was what it came down to, huh? All of her power was nothing more than fuel for her own sick pleasure. What a bad joke. I felt like I was about to throw up.
俺が求めるのはそんな光景なんかじゃねえんだよ。
Living was painful. I wished for time to stop because I felt the casual everyday life under the same sun was precious beyond compare. Wait, did you realize that? Yet hers was a low life wish of messing with it to suit her own depraved vision of bliss and then laughing insecurity, playing God basically.
絶対に認められるか!
And with that sentiment I set my soul on fire. I made time my own and extending it to infinity, ducked out the path of the lethal black waves.
そう。それがあなたの答えなのね、レン君。日常をまだめでて、二度と戻れないと分かっていながらまだあがく。
That was right, and I was proud of that. And now was the time to form this wish into concrete shape.
でもごめんね。その痩せ我慢はもう遅いわ。なんだって。私、さっきかすみに教えちゃったもの。
Ooh.
あなたはもう何人も殺してる、とっても悪い子なんだって。
You know, alright, I might be sounding weird, but if he somehow realized how to pull up the level 3, maybe with that information he will go level 4 immediately. Oh, you pissed him off.
だって
You pissed him off. In that moment, the concept pack had been waving together failed to take shape and dispersed. She told Kasumi about it? That she had so active forgotten? She actually told her about it? I slowed down, my strength loosened momentarily, my thoughts froze to a complete halt in the face of the giant shadow crashing down from above.
あなたが来る少し前にね、教えてあげたの。この子、ものすごく錯乱してたわ。気が狂うんじゃないかっていうくらいね。この子、ほっといたら自殺でもするんじゃないかしら。
Shut up!
それとも、鬱陶しいから殺しちゃう？罪人だもの。レン君がそのギロチンで首跳ねちゃうのもエスプリが効いてて面白いわね。きっとかすみだって嬉しいに違いないわ。でもちょっと待ってね。私が拷問してその後がいいわ。あ、でも殺しちゃうかも。かすみってば可愛いし。
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
ねえ、どうする？自殺？首跳ね？拷問し？ねえ、どうするの？ねえ、どうするの？
Did the heart beating. At this moment, something in my head snapped. Boiling waves of undiluted rage surged and took dominion of my mind, melding with the imperfect shape of my craving. Shut the hell up, you hug. Don't you spout of this shit any longer. I'll separate that head away from me insane ramblings from your body right now. Just you wait. It won't be long. I opened the hole in the jet black giant and dashed through it. Though my prayer got cut short and was further diluted by fury, the killing then distorted my craving. I was already going fast enough to outpace the witch's sorcery. Slow, Slow. Still too slow. I blocked through the limit of speed and acceleration. I cleared the shadow coming from above, stopped the jaws creeping across the ground, and continued to dash. The shadow split and darted in several directions, heading for me from multiple sides, but he still couldn't keep up. I dodged those things with little to no effort. I could wipe them out with but a swing of my arm. 12, 21, 37. I utterly destroyed all those apparitions of the prey sorcery and had finally got within the striking distance of the bitch. I destroyed all her petty tricks through her sheer strength alone. You ready, you ready, you senile fuck? It's too late to start getting scared now. You think that just because you've lived long enough to die at least 3 times over that you can beat my hollowed prayer?
やっぱりあなたはあいつの代替だわ。嫉妬すら覚えるほどよ、レン君。
Well, see you.
そしてやはりというかいつもそう。生まれ持った質だけで私を凌駕しようとするなんて。
Well, it's your fault for allowing that. I mean, not doing what you've done.
ずっと祈り続けてきたのよ。そういう選択。私が積み上げてきたもので犯してやりたいって。
Well, I don't give a crap anymore about you and your wishes. At that moment, my footing was suddenly devoured by the shadowy jaws. A fissure ran across its surface and opened wide like a giant mouth with disorderly aligned teeth. It utilized its supreme numbers, even if its strength lagged behind me in quality. I felt as for the ground I stood on had transformed to a nasty life to the tiger. I couldn't accelerate fast enough to evade it. I didn't have enough speed. I still hadn't mastered my newfound skill to the level I could run on air. The Iron Maiden had fused with the shadow, and I got completely taken off guard, and the day my amateur I was. And the world around began to slow down, to halt. Her sentiments emanating from the shadow overtook me, slowly washing away even the unwavering oath I had just made. I was stopping me.
額からだって情報は読み取れるのよ。バラバラにして保存してあげる。部位ごとに分けてね。内臓は一瓶ごとに仕分けして脳から直接情報を読み取らせてもらうわ。
No, the shadow bit through my skin all the way to my bones and crawled up my body. I'd been caught, trapped. It had caught up to me. I couldn't run anymore. Its deranged clinginess wrapped around my very soul.
残念よ、レン君。私、あなたのことを気に入っていたのに。
Well, I kind of liked you too, but you know,
本当よ。
things happened, and now it's the other way around.
普段はこのまま拷問するから、声くらいは出せるようにしてあげるんだけれどね。今日はダメ。レン君、なんだかあなた。
The look in your eyes shifted from nostalgia to obsession.
なんだか今日はあなたがメルクリウスみたいに見えるんですもの。
Faced with certain death, I started to re-enter the state of transcendence. Just another step or two, and my own barrier would be in my grasp. I knew that was the only way to get myself out of the situation, yet the shadow was invading my mind, bringing my thoughts to a halt. The warmth of my soul in the Guillotine's blade grew distant. There was nothing I could do.
じゃあね、レン君。
Come on, you can do it, man! Believe in that! The adjective sunk into my body. However, okay? At that moment, my predator hands making concert with the sound of cleaving flesh. Yeah! A shine of black iron flew by me just before I could be eaten. A blade pregnant with pure resentment stuck out of Rusalka's chest with a black luster. Nice! It was Sakurai's sword. Rusalka looked at the blade sticking out of her chest in shock. She tried to say something, but all she could do was spit up blood. This was likely the result of some sort of poetic justice I was unaware of, and the crafty witch brought upon herself. And then it came from nowhere. It had also opened up my one and only chance for victory. I moved before I could think. I shook off the shadowed paintings, then roared from the bottom of my soul. And I seized the chance and swung the Guillotine's blade down. How the hell are you screaming after that? I mean, it happened. As a result, the battle was settling at the moment. No, it had probably already been settled by that surprise attack. Her body now limp, Rusalka's head was separated from her neck and fell to the floor. The shadow covering the roof disappeared as if having never been here. The countless souls she'd stocked up were released from their confines and began drifting around like pale mist. Rusalka's corpse vanished, turning to dust in the blink of an eye. The end of the woman who sought eternity came abruptly and passed with almost wistful closeness. But then a sound from nearby brought me back to reality. I ran over to her, held her in my arms, and called her name, but she showed no signs of waking up. She was probably shocked after hearing about the truth of the incidents from Rusalka. There were tear stains on the edges of her eyes. My heart tightened with misery as I looked at her in this state. I lifted the unconscious Kasumi on my back as I grabbed my deep in frustration. I picked Sakura's sword off the ground and left the roof. I knew she didn't save us out of the goodness of her heart. But as I felt Kasumi's warmth and heartbeat against my back, I couldn't help feeling grateful to Sakura for the first time in my life. And yeah. Anywho. Alright. Before we move to... Alright, let's go. Okay. I will regret it later. God damn it, I need to get to work! Okay, after throwing key, Rusalka fell to her knees, overcame by sudden pain in her abdomen, the pain of her curse worse than ever before. Kay's face paled as she broke out into cold sweat. She had thrown her blade right to the eye. She didn't know if that was enough to beat Rusalka, but she couldn't think of another way to save Kane. As such, she had no regrets. Strength slowly left Kay's body, her vision warped, and all sounds around her grew faint. Her chaotic heartbeat pounded in her head. Wow. Oh yeah, they say it Kane and not Kane. Ah. Kay saw him with her blurry vision, losing consciousness as she called his name. At the same time, two shadows clashed against each other in the school, and okay, this fight would be continued in the next episode because I think it won't be a short one. For now, well, Rusalka is dead. You know, on one hand I liked her, on the other I did not. I don't even know what I had, what I considered her anymore. On the one hand, I didn't like Kay kind of in the beginning, but later she kind of became likable. I don't know. But you know, thinking about Rusalka wanting to play the role of the god, I kind of don't like that. For on the other hand, she was the one that wanted to well, so basically was jealous of others' powers, right? And so on. Kind of might understand her frustration not being able to keep up with someone else, but that doesn't mean you are not good enough as well, right? I might actually like her. Anyway, never mind. Let's end the episode here. Over 90 minutes long, and it's 15 minutes past 4 AM. I'm so glad I don't have to get up really early to work today, but I'm going later, so yeah, it won't be terrible for me. Anywho, hope you enjoyed this episode, and I feel like I wanted to say something at the very end, but I don't remember. I can't recall what I exactly wanted there, to be honest. And it's kind of problematic. I think it was related something to the game. Not that anyone would be watching that long, right? Think, Lynx, think. Alright, that's 7 hours of sleep, possibly. And that's more. Alright. We'll see. Hopefully I will manage to wake up. Alright. Oh yeah, I know! You know, isn't it kind of... Well, at least for me, it's kind of frustrating. It shouldn't be, but I feel like recording VMs without commentary and just basically... Well, basically, if you do it like that, you are basically saying that you freaking put it on skip, or basically auto move and record the screen. Come on, that's basically so offending to the developer that it's ridiculous. That's my opinion. I would say more, but I don't have any more strength to be honest, and I'm hitting the suck. Hope you enjoyed this episode and see you in the next one. Bye bye.